but everybody knows that. What we want to explain is how. What we want to explain is how Europe pulled itself out of the Dark Ages by its bootstraps and created one of the most powerful regions in the world. The question is how that is the rapid rate of innovation between the U.S., both social and scientific, that allowed them to gather powerful groups and bypass the rest of the These innovations and changes are shown through four major ways. The first major event was the Reformation, when the Catholic Church split and the Protestant Church was created. The second being the Enlightenment era, when new thoughts and ideas exploded. The third being the scientific revolution, when more scientists and the final event was the age of exploration. People started to finally see what the world really was. All of these factors alone would not have made much of a difference, but together they made a massive
peace of mind to many people. Britain and most of Germany. Spain and France remained with us in our pursuit for heaven, but there was war everywhere. Protestants and Catholics fighting for power in every kingdom, our counter-reformation and their heresy. Europe was a dark place.
In each kingdom, the ruler chose the religion. In the transition between wars, religions of oppression, religious intolerance, already intensified. Courts and special police were established to punish all who refused to convert. Expulsion, imprisonment, torture, the death penalty, mass executions, and massacres were tools of religious repression applied both by Catholics and Protestants. But these tragedies only made the people stronger and their innovations more necessary.
The Reformation had effects that reached out of religion. In England alone, there were drastic changes. After dismantling the systems of monasteries, the kingdom gained vast amounts of wealth. Then, following years of fighting, a Protestant England survived. The citizens formed a national party in America, and the rest of Europe became so widespread. Wherever the Catholic Church lost power, free thinking was expressed. Universities became a less rare phenomenon and were able to teach much more accurately and efficiently. It wasn't just peace that came out of the Reformation, however. Western Europe was full of wars and conflicts for hundreds of years. Because of this, the different kingdoms developed standing armies and military technology that hadn't been seen before. Both the intellectual and military advancements made because of the Reformation helped push the West past civilizations most closely.
Stupid Martin Luther, disrespecting the church, encouraging people to think for themselves? How ridiculous! When the Reformation happened, it paved the way for a new way of thinking, an age when the Catholic Church no longer restricted Europe far, allowing for a much larger spread of unrestricted exploration of different ideologies.
Travis Hobbs once wrote a book called The Fire. This book really helps out the idea of the government helping the people. John Locke greatly contributed to this belief, saying that the government should form a social contract with the people to protect their natural rights to life, liberty, and property. And if the government begins to restrict the people's natural rights, then it is the people's right to rise up against them and instate a new government. Rise up, brother! Rise up against the tyranny!
As more socialism emerged in France, were encouraged to engage in intellectual conversation with their peers, discussing the political and philosophical status of the country. Wow, what wonderful weather we're having today! Why, that apple just fell down! People like
gravity. The new ideas that to the advancement of the West.
According to traditional accounts, the scientific revolution began in Europe towards the end of the Renaissance era and continued through the late 18th century. This influenced the intellectual movement that we know today as the The concept found at this time was heliocentrism, which was the Earth placement of the Earth as the center of the universe. Another aspect of the scientific revolution was the exclusion of the Aristotelian theory that matter was continuous and made up of the elements of the Earth, water, air, and fire. Because its classic rival, atomism, was returned as a mechanical philosophy.
Nicholas Copernicus developed a heliocentric model of the universe. This radical theory claimed that the sun is the center of the universe and that the Earth revolves around it. Galileo continues Copernicus's work by observing the skies with a homemade telescope. Although he was able to prove Copernicus correct, his work was disapproved by the church and he was forced to recant or face execution. Isaac Newton built upon the earlier work of both Copernicus and Galileo and used mathematics to describe gravity as the force that keeps planets revolving around the sun. He also explained that this same force is what causes objects to fall to Earth.
The Age of Exploration officially began in about the early 15th century and essentially lasted until around the 17th century. It was a time when Europeans began exploring the world by sea in search of, new goods, trading partners, and discovering new trade routes along the way. And the explorers often lacked the necessary funding for, shipment supplies and such. Thus, as a result, many would turn to their respective governments which had their own desires for the explorations. Many nations were looking for things such as silver and gold. But one of the major reasons for exploration was the desire to find new route for spice and silk trades. Although the age, of exploration officially ended in the 17th century, it is absolutely important to note, however, that the exploration did not cease entirely at this time. Eastern Australia was not discovered until 1770, and the Arctic and Antarctic areas were not fully explored until the 19th century. And much of Africa also was unexplored until the 19th and even early 20th centuries. As far as contributions to geography, by traveling to different regions around the world, explorers were naturally able to know areas such as Africa and America, and its natural inhabitants Methods of navigation and mapping also emerged as a result of the travelers. The age of exploration served as a sort of stepping stone for geographic knowledge known today. It allowed more people to see and study various areas around the world, which increased geographic studies, giving us the basis for much of the knowledge we have today.
Seeing how the Reformation spurred free thinking and military innovations, the Enlightenment era brought forth a thought process that led people to more individualistic and self-centered ideas, something that made them care more about their powers of civilization. The scientific revolution gave the West a technological edge over its competition, and the age of exploration meant that the West could expand both territorially and powerfully. The common factor here is that in each event, it leads the West making innovations of some kind. Together, this pushed the West forward into becoming the most powerful region in the world.